Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for those who have been my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And as you all know, I try to bring up storylines that are interesting all throughout our country and sometimes our world, and make you scratch your head and go, what in the devil is going on with mankind? And this one is a really, really bizarre situation that took place in Virginia. And this one goes, Virginia man just got sentenced to 100 years after killing his co-worker for stealing his lunch back in 2021. For stealing his lunch out the refrigerator. Bazin Berhi, 25, received the 100-year sentence with 30 years suspended. So he will serve 70 years of active incarceration. So let me tell you how the story went. It's crazy. Berhi was charged with first-degree murder after beating and stabbing 58-year-old Herman Levia to death in the parking lot of the Bailey's Crossroads Target. Bailey's Crossroads Target, where they both worked. In the early morning hours on April 17th, 2021, the attack stemmed from an incident that occurred just days before on Wednesday, April 14th. Berhi was angry that Levia, who was a janitor at the Target, had taken his lunch, Berhi's lunch, from the office fridge that day and ate it. Berhi said after the incident, he began plotting the murder the very next day. Berhi purchased a hammer and 2 knives while leaving his shift at Target, and he told detectives that he spent the following day, Friday, April 16th, training for the murder. So he was pissed off that Wednesday, went and got a hammer and 2 knives, and then he went on to practice as if he was some kind of military special ops killer. He was going to get this janitor. Then he put his plan into action on Saturday morning on April 17th. Berhi arrived at the employee parking lot early and sat waiting for Levia to arrive. When Levia got there, Berhi attacked him, stabbing and bludgeoning him to death before fleeing. Berhi confessed to the crime immediately and pleaded guilty to first-degree murder this past October 2023. So this has been all over the news the last few months. In his sentencing hearing, prosecutors say Berhi threatened to kill or hurt other people if he was not given the harshest possible sentence. So what are the dynamics that are playing in this situation? Well, one, you got a 58-year-old man and a 25-year-old gentleman. And as we know in today's time, there's a huge difference. I'm in my mid-50s. There's a huge difference between the thought process of young people today and this thought process of someone almost 60. And I don't know if they had rumblings or how Berhi knew that the janitor was, Mr. Levia, was stole his lunch or had been stealing it. But I tell you what, I don't mess and play with young people. I'm too old to fight. Don't want to fight. And this point in my life, it should be about conflict resolution and mediation and trying to resolve any issues based on miscommunication, that it doesn't lead to a fight let alone death. So I don't know if the 58-year-old gentleman had just felt that he could bully and take his lunch, or eat whoever's lunch is in the refrigerator, but he actually ate the wrong person's lunch that day. And so I don't know the background story on had he been doing this to Burhee, how did Burhee know? But for whatever reason, when Burhee found out that the man ate his lunch, he decided and rested on this, and it was boiling and brewing inside of him for a couple of days. And then he went on to kill this gentleman over his lunch. The value that we place on life today is so minimal that it doesn't make any sense. We're losing our humanity each and every day. You hear me say this all the time, and I'm going to repeat it over and over again when I do stories that are so astonishing, that are so egregious, that sometimes it seems like some Hollywood writer wrote this stuff for a TV show, but this is all real in reality. It also shows you the dynamics of, you never know what someone is going through. Evidently, this 25-year-old man who had his entire life in front of him had some real complicated things that were in turmoil inside his soul, his heart, and his head. Mental illness is a real thing. I say it all the time. There are many, many people suffering from mental illness, even the opioid crisis, and the management style and how to handle issues in today's time. It goes from life, and in a split of a second, it goes straight to death. There's very little in between. And I don't know if that's because of social media. It's all over the world. I don't know if that's because too many kids are growing up in single parent households and fatherless households. I don't know if it's that many of our inner city public schools are inept financially, fiscally. We are failing our young people in many, many different areas in us trying to navigate them through this beautiful and difficult life that we all live in. Well, for Burhee, at 25, his life is over. So he will have to spend the rest of his life encaged, and then 58-year-old Mr. Levia is deceased. So nobody wins in this particular situation. I'm not sure if Target, from a corporate standpoint, was even aware that there was some conflict going on, or did you just come out of the clear blue? But to kill and murder someone over lunch or over a sandwich, and this man, Levia, was old enough to be this gentleman's father. There's a 32-year-old age difference. And I'm also seeing in today's time that young people, the level of respect that young people are supposed to have for the elders, like when I was growing up in the 70s, is totally different now. Nobody calls anybody Mr. or Mrs. Such and such. Young people are calling 60-year-old people by their first name as if they're in the same caveat. I don't necessarily like that. I think you should call me, if you're 25, you should call me Mr. Such and such, and let me give you the option to call me by my first name if I'm old enough to be your father. So the lack of respect is just gone completely out the window. Everybody thinks that everybody is equal, and we're not. You get a chance to live to be 60, 70, 80 years old. That is a complete blessing. And many of our young people today are just living for the day and have no idea what tomorrow brings, or if they even look forward to it. And this was a spitting image of this gentleman. He deserves all the prison time in the world. I mean, there were tons of surveillance cameras, and he actually, when he got caught, he confessed all of this to the police. So he made all these statements without even an attorney present. So he got what was coming to him, convicted of first-degree murder. We have to come up with better ways to have conflict resolution and mediation, and we need to try to help and save these young people if they're willing to listen with the 2 ears that God gave them and the 2 eyeballs. This is very unfortunate to kill a man over lunch, and let's manifest our truth in the right way. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience.